September 14th, 7:50 in the morning. A woman named Mariah Samuels walked out of her North Minneapolis home. She was heading to her car to go to work. Just another Sunday morning, or so she thought, but someone was waiting for her, and when he saw her, he opened fire. One shot, 2, 3, 4, 5, he kept going. The sound of gunfire echoed through the quiet neighborhood. When it was over, 10 bullets had been fired. Mariah Samuels, 34 years old and a mother of 2, was dead. She died right there on the street, just feet from her own front door, right before police could arrive. In the news coverage that followed, her aunt stood in front of the cameras, and what she said next was absolutely shocking.
Mariah will be the 4th woman in our family that was murdered by someone that said that they loved them.
Mariah will be the 4th woman in our family that was murdered by someone that said that they loved them. Let that sink in for a moment. 4 women in the same family, all killed by men who claimed to love them. Mariah knew about these deaths. She had watched her family bury 3 women who died exactly like this. She knew what intimate partner violence looked like. She knew how these stories ended. And yet, somehow, she became the 4th. So the question becomes, why? Why did Mariah end up with David Eugene Wright, a 50-year-old man who had just walked out of prison after spending 15 years behind bars? How does this happen when you've already seen it happen 3 times before? Before we go any deeper, if you're getting value from this story, please hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Now, let's get into it. Rosanna Samuels was 34 years old. She lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the Willard Hay neighborhood with her 2 young boys. She worked as a dog groomer because she loved animals. Everyone who knew her said the same thing. She was sweet. She was outgoing. She was free-spirited. She had this energy that made people feel welcome, made them feel seen. She loved her sons more than anything in this world. But Mariah had one weakness. She believed she could see the good in people, even when that good didn't exist. Mariah met David Eugene Wright. He was 50 years old and fresh out of prison. Actually, they had been talking while he was still locked up. He would send her gifts from jail, little presents, letters, things that made her feel special, made her feel chosen. And Mariah, being the kind-hearted person she was, she gave him a chance. David had just finished serving time for illegal gun possession, a sentence that started back in 2009. He did 15 years, but that wasn't his only conviction, not even close. David also had 3 convictions for drugs, 2 for aggravated robbery, property damage, check forgery, misdemeanor assault, identity theft, contempt of court, disorderly conduct. The list went on and on. And it gets worse. Before Mariah, there was another woman. Back in 2020, this woman got a protection order against David. She claimed he injured her shoulder while holding a gun to her. Then in 2022, she got another order. This time she said David broke into her home multiple times, stealing items while she was in the shower. This man had a history, a documented history of violence, obsession, and control when it came to women. But Mariah either didn't know all of this, or maybe she did and thought she could handle it. Either way, she gave him a chance. They were together for only a few months. According to Mariah's family, it was all lovey-dovey at first. They posted photos together on social media. They looked like a happy couple, but if you look closely at those pictures, something seems off. Mariah's body language always seemed stiff, uncomfortable, like she was standing next to someone she feared, not someone she loved. But nobody noticed at the time. It didn't take long for the mask to slip. David started showing his true colors. He became controlling, possessive, jealous. He started threatening Mariah's family. He damaged her car, slashing her tires when he got angry. Mariah's family watched this happen in real time. They saw the red flags waving right in front of them. They tried to warn her, but Mariah was already in deep. And by the time she realized how dangerous David really was, it was almost too late. Then came August 21st, 2024, the day everything changed. A video from someone's doorbell camera captured what happened next. David attacked Mariah. He pistol-whipped her. He struck her in the face and body with a gun. Then he choked her against a fence while he was armed. The whole time, he threatened to shoot her and anyone left inside her home. When it was over, Mariah had a knot on her head, scratches covering her arms, bruises all over her body. She went to the police. She reported everything. She showed them the video. She showed them her injuries, but here's where the system started to fail her. Mariah didn't want to pursue criminal charges. She was terrified that pressing charges would make things worse, that David would retaliate, that he would hurt her even more. So the police kept the investigation open, but they didn't move forward with charges. Instead, they helped her file for a protection order. 5 days later, Mariah went to Hennepin County Court. She filed for an order of protection for herself and her 11-year-old son. In the petition, she wrote down everything: the August assault, David threatening to blow up her house, the stalking. She wrote, "I was extremely fearful of the respondent and take his threats seriously." The court granted the order that same day. David was barred from any contact with Mariah. He couldn't come near her home. He couldn't possess firearms. 3 days later, David was formally served with the order. He knew he wasn't supposed to go near her. He knew the consequences. But restraining orders are just paper. And paper doesn't stop someone who's already decided they'd rather go back to prison than lose control. David violated that order immediately. He started sending her messages, text after text after text, and these messages show you exactly who David Wright was. He wrote, "I'm sorry, I still have things that I had for your birthday. I hate that you won't accept them, but anyways, I'll chill. One last question, why haven't you blocked me on here? I'll never be able to do it." A few days later, when Mariah didn't respond, he sent more. "I love you, Mariah, and I'm truly sorry for the hurt I caused you. I will regret that night for the rest of my life." Days later, more messages. "I'm sorry for this, but I miss you, Mariah. Nah, forget that, I just miss you." Mariah never replied to any of these messages. She was trying to move on with her life, and that silence made David angry. His next message showed his true colors. "You are fake nothing. I knew you was with that man." Just like that, from "I love you" to insults and accusations, that's when Mariah decided to post a screenshot of his texts on Facebook. She was calling him out, telling the world what kind of man he was, and David hated that. He couldn't control the narrative anymore, so he escalated. Early September, the last 2 weeks of Mariah's life, David ramped up the stalking. Her family said he was everywhere, around the block, watching her house, following her movements. Mariah and her friend Connie Willis called the police multiple times. They filed reports.
He stalked and he searched and he looked and he's been around the block watching, and he got her.
But what could the police do? David hadn't technically broken the restraining order in a way they could arrest him for. He was being careful, staying just outside the legal boundaries while still making his presence known. Then came the morning of September 14th, 4:00 a.m. Mariah woke up to find David outside her house again, stalking her, watching. She texted her sister Selina, told her David was violating the protection order again, that he was sending angry messages, accusing her of seeing another man. Around 7:45 a.m., Mariah had enough. She opened Facebook and made a post, and this would be the last post she ever made. She wrote, "I'm a fake, nothing, coming from a broke bum who can't control his emotions and put hands on me, threatened my family and damaged my car because he can't handle a breakup. I'd be mad too if I took my life away from myself. Get over it. I should send this to your mother so she can see what kind of man she raised. Coward. Oh, I forgot, jail raised you. 15 years and not one certificate or any kind of education. Who's the nothing now? Good morning, everyone. Have a blessed Sunday." She posted another one. "I can't stand a human being who can't take accountability for their messed up actions. Hit, punch, slap, push, shove, whatever you want to call it. No man can call themselves a man after putting their hands on a woman physically in any shape or form. Replace the word man with coward. Or should I say he is just illiterate in real life? Now that's a darn shame." Then she made her final post, the one that sealed her fate. "I was trying to stay silent, but stalking me at 4 in the morning, and the police ain't doing anything besides serve him with a protective order, and clearly it's not doing anything." Less than 3 hours after that post went live, David was waiting outside Mariah's home. 7:50 a.m., Mariah walked out of her front door on the 1400 block of Russell Avenue North. She headed toward her Jeep SUV, ready to leave for work. David Wright stepped out from where he'd been waiting. He had a handgun, and he didn't hesitate. The first shots rang out, 5 of them in rapid succession. Neighbors heard Mariah screaming, then more shots. David kept firing. Witnesses later said they counted between 12 and 15 total rounds. The bullets tore through the driver's side door, through the passenger door. Mariah tried to get into the car to escape, but there was nowhere to go. When the shooting stopped, David did something that shows you exactly how cold he was. He struggled to drag Mariah's body out of the SUV. He removed items from the vehicle. He grabbed a bicycle from the back, and then he rode away. Just left her there in front of her own home, where her children lived. Officers arrived at 7:53 a.m., 3 minutes after the first 911 call, but it was already over. Mariah Samuels was pronounced dead at the scene. Police recovered 15 discharged 9 casings from the ground. Surveillance video from nearby homes captured David as the shooter. There was no question who did this. And here's the part that makes this even more tragic. Mariah's Facebook post had just gone live. Her family and friends saw it, and when they couldn't reach her after seeing that post, they knew something was wrong. They rushed to check on her, but they were too late. The same post that was supposed to be her cry for help became her last words. Her family arrived to find the street blocked off, police tape everywhere, officers swarming the scene, and Mariah's body still there. The news broke fast. By that evening, local stations were covering the story, and Mariah's aunt spoke to the cameras. You could hear the anger in her voice, the frustration, the grief. My niece was gunned down by a violent ex-boyfriend that she put a restraining order on, and he ambushed her and shot her not 5 times, but 10 times right here in front of her house. Mariah will be the 4th woman in our family that was murdered by someone that said that they loved them. How does that even happen? What kind of generational pattern leads to 4 women in the same bloodline dying the exact same way? The family was devastated, but they were also angry because Mariah had done everything right. She'd filed the restraining order, she'd called the police, she'd documented everything, she'd made it public, and none of it saved her. Meanwhile, David was gone. He'd fled the scene on that bicycle. Police put out an alert. They had his name, his photo, surveillance footage, witness statements. The next day, police found David Wright in Anoka County, north of Minneapolis. He didn't run far, he didn't put up a fight. He was arrested without incident and held on $1 million bail. The following day, Hennepin County filed formal charges. 2nd-degree murder, not 1st-degree, because prosecutors said the killing was intentional but not premeditated. And illegal possession of a firearm because David was a convicted felon on supervised release. He wasn't supposed to have a gun at all. During the interrogation, David confessed, fully confessed, and the way he did it shows you how his mind worked. He told investigators, "I'm not going to fight this. Read the text so you'll understand." Like those messages would somehow justify what he did. David genuinely believed that if investigators saw those texts, saw that Mariah was talking to another man, they'd get it. They'd see why he had to kill her. The evidence against David was overwhelming. Witness identifications, video surveillance showing him as the shooter, the text messages where he threatened her, the assault video from August, ballistics matching the casings at the scene, his own confession. This was never going to be a hard case to prosecute. David knew that. He even said as much. He told police, "This won't be a hard-fought case." On September 17th, David made his first court appearance. He didn't have an attorney listed yet, just stood there in his orange jumpsuit while the charges were read. He remained in custody, and that's where he still sits today. Back in North Minneapolis, Mariah's family was trying to process what happened. They set up a memorial at the shooting site. Purple balloons, purple is the color for domestic violence awareness. Flowers, photos of Mariah smiling, photos of her with her sons, cards with messages. People from the neighborhood stopped by to pay respects. Community organizations got involved. They confirmed what everyone already knew. Mariah was Minnesota's 17th confirmed intimate partner homicide of 2024. 17 women dead. 17 families destroyed, and it was only September. Mariah's brother William set up a GoFundMe for her two sons. The boys had just lost their mother. They needed stability, therapy, care. The fundraiser emphasized keeping Mariah's love alive for them, teaching them about the woman their mother was before David Wright took her away. The campaign gained traction fast. Donations poured in from all over the country. But the family wasn't done. They wanted more than donations. They wanted change. September 20th, 3 days after David's court appearance, over 150 people gathered at the memorial site on Russell Avenue. They wore purple, carried signs, held photos of Mariah, and they marched. They marched from that shooting site all the way to the Minneapolis 4th Precinct police station. Mariah's cousins led the march. Her friends walked with them. They chanted, "Domestic violence matters, domestic violence matters," over and over. The sound echoed through the streets. People came out of their homes to watch. Some joined. The march grew as it moved. When they reached the police station, Mariah's sister Selina Owens spoke, and she didn't hold back. "Today we are going to speak her name loudly," she said. People were furious, furious at the system, furious at the police response, furious that this keeps happening. Advocates from organizations like Violence Free Minnesota used Mariah's story to push for legislative changes, because Mariah's death wasn't an anomaly. She was one of dozens of women killed by intimate partners in Minnesota that year alone. By late September, Mariah's case had become a rallying point. Her name was being said alongside other victims of domestic violence. Her face was on posters at awareness events. Her story was being used to educate people about the warning signs, about what to do if you're in danger, about how the system is broken. But for her family, none of that changed the reality. Mariah was gone. Her sons were without their mother. And David Wright was sitting in a jail cell, exactly where he seemed comfortable being in the first place. Just weeks after her 34th birthday, Mariah's funeral had to be planned. She had dreams, plans, a whole life ahead of her, and David took all of that away in less than a minute. Now some people are saying she never should have dated David in the first place, that a man fresh out of 15 years in prison is too dangerous, that she should have known better. Others point out that victim blaming doesn't help anyone, that David Wright was the one who pulled the trigger, that Mariah did everything the system told her to do, and the system failed. So how do we stop this from happening again? Because Mariah's story isn't unique. Every year, thousands of women are killed by current or former intimate partners, and in many of these cases, the women had restraining orders. They'd called the police, they'd asked for help, and they still died. The current system puts all the burden on the victim. Get the restraining order, call the police, document everything, protect yourself. But what happens when you do all of that and the abuser doesn't care? What happens when they're willing to go back to prison, when they have nothing to lose? Minneapolis police defended their response. They said they helped Mariah file for the protection order. They discussed a safety plan with her. They did what they could within the bounds of the law. And maybe that's true. Maybe they did everything their policies allowed. But if the policies allow a documented, video-recorded assault to go unprosecuted, then the policies are broken. David was on supervised release when he killed Mariah, which means he was supposed to be monitored, supposed to have check-ins, supposed to be watched closely because of his extensive criminal history. But somehow, he was able to get a gun, able to stalk Mariah for weeks, able to violate a restraining order repeatedly, and nobody stepped in until after he'd fired those 10 shots. The August assault happened on the 21st. Mariah was killed on September 14th. That means there were 24 days between the assault and the shooting where David had access to her. He could text her, stalk her, plan what he was going to do. In those 24 days, something should have been done to stop him, but nothing was done, and Mariah paid the price. The case against David moved through the courts. He remained in custody on that $1 million bail. There is no universe where David Wright walks free. He's going back to prison. And this time, he'll be looking at spending the rest of his life behind bars. Take domestic violence seriously. Escape if you can. This is the advice survivors hear all the time. Just leave. but leaving is the most dangerous time. Statistics show that women are at the highest risk of being killed when they're trying to leave or have just left an abusive relationship, because that's when the abuser realizes they're losing control. So the advice to just leave isn't enough. There needs to be protection during that leaving. There needs to be a safe place to go. There needs to be law enforcement that responds when the abuser shows up. There needs to be consequences for violations. Real consequences, not just another piece of paper. Mariah's two sons are growing up without their mother. They're being raised by family members who love them, who are doing everything they can to keep Mariah's memory alive for them, to tell them stories about who their mother was, to show them photos and videos from before David Wright came into their lives. To anyone listening to this who's in a similar situation, who's dealing with a partner who's controlling or violent or threatening, please hear this. It is not your fault. You are not alone, and there are people who want to help you. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have counselors who can help you make a safety plan, who can help you figure out your next steps. If you have a restraining order and it's being violated, document everything. Take screenshots, save voicemails, keep records, and understand that a restraining order is just one tool. It's not a shield. It's not a guarantee of safety. You need a larger plan. You need somewhere to go. You need people who know what's happening. You need to be prepared for the worst-case scenario. And if you're watching this and you recognize these patterns in someone you love, speak up. Don't wait. Don't hope it gets better. Say something, do something, because silence can be deadly. Mariah Samuels should still be alive. She should be grooming dogs, raising her sons, celebrating birthdays, making plans for the future. She should be here. Rest in peace, Rosanna Samuels. Your life mattered, your story matters, and your death will not be in vain. That's it for today's video. Stay safe out there. And I hope this story helps you recognize warning signs and encourages you to seek help or offer support before it's too late. If this story touched you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more true crime stories that matter. I'll see you in the next one.